Hi everyone, and welcome to SWPL My Story. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Queen's Park manager Craig Joyce. How are you, Craig?
I'm good, mate. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm brilliant, thanks, and thanks for taking the time to join us today. So I think it's fair to say you're absolutely flying, sitting at the top of SWPL too, 10 points clear. But just on reflection, obviously you'd have been going into the season full of confidence, but to be so dominant this season must be really rewarding for yourself.
That is great. I think the girls and the staff have been incredible for the word go. We started back, um, I think 2 weeks before everybody else, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks before everybody, and we were very conscious that we never get a pre-season. The first season we were in, not a proper one anyway. We kind of get flung in at the deep end, and it was like, right, how do we retain and how do we improve the situation? And I think um, deep down, everybody knew Queens Park was without being disrespectful, Queens Park was a free hit some seasons for teams, and it wasn't really organised. And the players will tell you this themselves that were there, that a lot of them had went there just to get away from the intense environments of Prem One or the top end of Prem Two, and we had to pull everybody together for that one. So again, it was a big probably I've said this to somebody just yesterday, mate. To be honest, like it was a bigger job than we thought when we first went in, and me and Ian actually looked at each other who our coach way and says, "Have we done the right thing here? Have we made the right decision?" We've never ever done that, and the two's looked at each other and we're like, "Have we definitely done it? Are we sure we've done the right thing?" And listen, it's all down to the staff and the girls and how they've performed this season. Still a good bit to go, but aye, they've set themselves up quite nicely.
Just obviously you're talking about you were building for pre-season, getting in early, and the recruitment's been great. And just the last couple of weeks in particular, when I've been talking about like the running for the season, the experience is massive. And you've got a squad that's full of that, fully players that have played in SWPL one. They've solidified themselves in that league and the SWPL two, and I think it goes to show on the field with the performances and then holding that nerve as we're going into the final 10 games.
Yeah, I think the recruitment one's quite key for us. I know a lot of people will say this, but we religiously work to the player's character first. Like what type of character are they, who we bringing in the building? Because one bad one can destroy everything for you. So, and touch wood, we've never really had any bad ones, to be honest with you. And if we have, it's always about dealing with a human being before the football player. So we can deal with it, but the recruitment was key for us in the summer. We knew where we had to improve, which was a vast improvement that was needed for last season. And we also knew who we wanted to improve. And I think is when we were talking about it Tuesday night, the staff were kind of having a natter about it. And I think at the summer targets, we missed out on maybe two players that we were after, um, just for various reasons. But every other player we seemed to get. And it's a rare occasion where every player seems to work for you. And we're in that fortunate position just now that everybody we've brought in the door pushes each other, helps each other, and wants to get to that next level, whether it's personally or as a collective. So we've been good on the recruitment side. We do have our own. It's not really a talent ID, but it's more of a person ID that we look towards, and how do we integrate them into a group. We're no daft. We know it takes people longer than others. Do you know what I mean, mate? So we were quite clear that other players would take longer than some to integrate into it. Some had been out injured, some had been away, some had been in different countries, and we're quite balanced. And we've got a good network of staff who can help them adapt quite quickly. And that was the first part that we had to get right this year. Then the second part was obviously the stability of the team and how do we move forward. And I think everybody just keeps talking about the league, but it's not done yet. Do you know what I mean? There's still a long way to go, and I think people are getting bored of me saying that, and I'm thinking we've still got 10 games to go, and we've got Kilmarnock in a week's time. Do you know what I mean? So who are doing well themselves, but the recruitment part for us was big, and we knew what was needed to get there. But it's no a gimme. You can't just bring players in and it works. You need to work at it. You need to build relationships with people. You need to get to know them. You need to know what makes them tick, what doesn't make them tick, who reacts to different things, and there's a lot of work that we put in behind the scenes for that side of it. Listen, we do a lot of work on the pitch as well, but there's a lot that goes on off the pitch, player care wise as well, to make sure they're in a good place and they've got a good environment to run with. And the biggest fact that I never clocked onto, and it was actually Ian who's the head coach just now. He says from last season when we first came in the door, there's only 4 players still there who were there. And I was like, I never thought of that one, because when I'm in it, I'm tunnel visioned and I'm charging on. And when he said that to me, I was a bit like, it's a bit mental, innit? So we thought we'd done okay in the turnaround, and then works out we've actually brought 19 players in for the start of the season, which, knowing yourself, being involved in football, you'll know that's a big turnaround, try to integrate and gel new players together. So it was a good task, but it was really enjoyable. Really, really enjoyable.
I think just as you touched on there, with bringing in so many players and getting them to gel and getting it to work so quickly, is credit to yourself and the rest of the coaching team for being able to manage that transition, because this could have very much turned into being a transitional year for you, and just do what you can this season, build, and then look ahead to next season. But obviously, it's happened right away. And I know I'm probably putting you on the spot here, talking about an individual, but the form of Ellie Kane has been frightening. You obviously got the captaincy. It's a player that I've known about and I've seen over the years at various clubs, and a particular time at Hamilton. But she seems to have really found a home, and it's really working for her. But then that's obviously feeding off onto the other girls as well. But her being that captain and that leader seems to really suit her this season.
Yeah, I think it was. I think that was the first thing we done when we came in the door. We looked at the team and thought, right, who can we create a leadership group out of them? Everywhere I've been, there's always kind of been a group of maybe 3 or 4 who tries to get the best out of the team, and I don't just mean on the pitch. How can we get the best facilities? How can we get the best, something as daft as water bottles? Do you know what I mean? How do we get the best for the girls that within reason we can do? And how do we help with training times and stuff? And we looked around, and I think myself and Ian very quickly says, well, we'll make it Ellie. I knew of Ellie. Ian knew of her, but not to the degree that I did. And I just liked her character. I just really liked her character, and I think last season was a transition season for her. Again, she just went to Queens to enjoy herself and enjoy football again, and we very quickly laid down what we wanted. There's a 3-phase plan, and this is obviously phase 2 we're in just now, but it was like, here's what we want, he's in or he's out. And every player bought into what we wanted to do. And we said to her, well, it was a weird thing, mate, because when we first went in, she was playing centre back.
Mm-hmm.
And we were a bit like, no, that doesn't work. But the odd thing is, we never had other players that we could move about who would fit into position. So we're like, we'll start her at centre back. And then the more it went on, I was like, no, she's a midfielder. She needs to play midfield. She needs to play higher up the pitch. Played her higher up the park, but slowly. Like, she went from centre half to a defensive midfielder to an attacking midfielder. And we just kept moving her up the pitch. And then it was the second half of the season, we wanted to start her up front. But we never had the players to get her up there. We never had anybody, and we kind of felt for Abby Callahan at the time, because she was scoring goals for fun, but there was a lot of pressure on her, and I think she was putting a lot of pressure on herself as well. And we tried to bring folk in the door, couldn't get them in, and then the last day of the season last year, somebody got injured, and we're like, just chuck Ellie up top. But it was a conscious thing. It wasn't like we just turned up and went, we'll just pop her up top. Do you know what I mean? It was like, this is the game to try it. Let's try it. And I think she scored twice and set up 2. And we're like, this is get something. There's arms and legs on this. And then pre-season, we obviously sat down and had a chat before the season finished. And I was like, we're going to play higher up the pitch. We're going to play up top. What do you think it? And she's like, oh, I'd love that. And I think one of the things we've spoke to the players about, and it's the first time I've actually said this to anybody else that's not within our group, is, why did you start playing football in the first place? Why? Because we enjoy it. Well, there you go then. So the whole group's enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
But we keep reminding them that message. Why did you start? Why did you start as a kid? Why did you pick up your first football and kick it about? Or why were you playing with your brothers, your sisters, your dad, your uncles, your aunties, your mum? Like, what made you want to do it? And that's a big message we keep putting across to them, because they're role models as well. So they're going to inspire the next generation of why did they do what they're doing? Well, they enjoy it. They love it. And I think that's what Ellie's going through just now. She's just really enjoying herself. Really, like, when she plays, you can see she's got this. It's not a swagger. She's just got this demeanour about her just now, and this aura where she's playing well, she's doing really well, she's got a great attitude about her, good role model for the young kids, good role model for her teammates, and it helps when she's scoring goals. Like any striker, when they're not scoring, they put extra pressure on themselves, and she's no different. But at the same time, there was plans maybe to drop her back into a midfield position, but I think 3 games into the season, we're like, no, she's just staying up there. Keep her up there. She adds a different outlet, and she's bloody rapid as well, which she wasn't last year, so I don't know what she done there the summer. I don't know, but a lot of Ellie's forms done early. Like we've gave ideas, and as always, we put them across to the player. And if the player wants to do it, then they'll meet us halfway and do it. If they don't want to do it, then it's not going to work. Do you know what I mean? So we did say that to her, and I think she was just delighted she wasn't going back in at centre half. She was delighted with that, but no, she's had a cracker of a season, and I think her teammates keep pushing her as well, but she pushes back the way and gets a performance out of them as well. So I think Amy said that while she was on here. But you can only look at her and admire what she's done this season. She's took everything on board and went and ran with herself. So she's been phenomenal.
No, absolutely. So obviously it was a big decision for you to go to Queens, and obviously it's at this moment in time it's definitely working out for you. But for anyone that's obviously follows Scottish football in general, they've seen the big changes, particularly on the men's side, but you're seeing it feeding it into the women's side as well. So can you just tell us a little bit about what's been going on at the club, how the women's team are supported by them, and they're obviously looking to push you on as well.
Yeah. It was. I think you got that right there. It was a big decision. I was quite happy. I don't know if my partner would say this, but I was quite happy to be sitting during the summer when I left Glasgow. And it was just two ships moving in different directions. Like I wanted something else, and they'd said what they wanted at the season going into the Premier League, and I was like, well, no, I would actually like a wee bit more. Not in terms of like financial or anything like that. I just had higher standards of what I wanted, as well as Ian and the other staff that were there that came with us. We'd spoke to a couple of clubs, and I'd said to my partner, listen, I'm thinking there was one I was really, really interested in, like really, like it got me. And it wasn't the Queen's Park, by the way. They came out the blue. They came flying out of nowhere. And I can remember just before I was going on holiday, I was supposed to go to this other club, and it fell through on the Friday while I was on holiday. And I was like, well, it's as what it is. And then the Friday night, Queen's Park asked if I could meet them. And I was like, well, I'm on holiday. I'll meet you when I come back. And they said, right, carte blanche. And basically, the words were, we've been rubbish. It was a stronger word than that, but I don't want to say that because I don't want to. I'm trying my best not to swear. I'm terrible for it sometimes. And they were like, we need a reset, and we need a vision, and we need clarity, and we need. And I was like, right, okay. I says, well, here's how we work. What do you want to do? And they bought into it straight away, and we were like, right, we'll come in. But the first year is going to be the building year. Just what you said earlier, the second year could have been that with a high turnaround, but we were confident if we could stabilise the club, and that was the job. The first part when we came in, just stabilise. And at this moment in time, we're still part of the foundation. Hopeful that the club's it's now drip feeding across, and we're going to move across under their banner. But you're at that point just now where you're like, right, okay, we're in phase 2. We're performing better than maybe the club expected from a higher level and external. Because I think if you look at it, mate, all the wee media outlets, not wee media, but all the media outlets and predictors at the start of the season, I think they had us run about down the bottom of the table.
Right.
And we were just like, right, okay, whatever. And we don't tend to listen to too much what's happening outside. But again, it was the past, what do you want to say, reputation at Queen's Park that people are like, I'll just finish down the bottom. They were 6th last year, they'll be there or thereabouts. But we'd always said from that last day when we beat East Fife, we won't be down that end of the table. That's not going to happen. Did we think we'd be 10 points clear? Absolutely not. But now we just need to roll with the punches and get on with it and enjoy ourselves while we're doing it. But the club's now starting to look at it, and I think even something, it's a small thing, but it's a big thing at the same time, playing at the City Stadium, which hasn't been played on yet. And I know the men's team played on it during the summer. The B team have played a couple of games, and we were supposed to play on it just after Christmas. But unfortunately, the weather was absolutely rotten. And there was one corner of the pitch that was frozen. And I'm thinking, many hair dryers would it take to dry that side of the park? Do you know what I mean? Like these wild things, you know what I mean? Like these wild things were going through my head on the Saturday when the frost was coming across and the groundsman was like, "It's you can't play it," and then the ref called it, and I was like, absolutely devastated. Like at the time, you were gutted because you wanted to play, you were gearing up for it. It was a bit of excitement over Christmas and that as well. And I think there's probably something to come that we're going to play there again, but it's just wee bits like that, and then even something as small as when we came in, and this isn't a sob story. It's just the reality of where the club were at the time. We had no footballs, no cones, no bibs, no strips. We were using. Do you remember the Iron Brew strip with the multicoloured
Yeah.
dots on it? We were wearing that during pre-season, and when I first came in, like I've never had this. I was like, I really don't like that strip. And then the more we wore it during pre-season, I was like, I actually quite like that strip. And they're like, well, we're changing to Macron. And I was like, oh, that's good. And the girls got all the kit. So the first thing they got was kit. And we're like, right, there's the first bit. There's the first hurdle we've overcame. Because they were like, we didn't get kit till December last year and we didn't. And I was like, well, we've come in the door. It was just luck. Pure pot luck that the boxes of kit were sitting there and they were like, can you go and sort this out and get to the girls and the staff? And we're like, not a problem. Not a problem. So that was we'd won the players over, I think, just because we gave them a vision and we gave them kit. They would walk me in the door. Then the next bit was, right, where are we going to get footballs for? We had footballs, but we're like, where are we going to get decent footballs? No plasticky Joma balls. Where are we going to get balls that we can train with? Who's got a stack of cones? Right, we've all got stacks of cones. Let's put them all together. Right, what bibs have we got? Right, we've got these bibs. And then slowly but surely we started putting together all these wee bits. And you might be sitting there thinking, this is mental, this is Queen's Park you're talking about, this is a professional club in this day and age. But at that point, the coach had left, there was no balls. Genuinely, mate, there was nothing, absolutely nothing. The girls were training on a third day of park, and I'm like, I'm not training on a third day of park. And they're like, what? And I was like, the girls, if you want the girls to perform at a higher level, they need half a pitch minimum. And they were like, right, okay. And I went, it's going to cost you a wee bit more money, but if you want them to train to a higher level and you want a quality over the board, we need a half park. We need a half. And they got us it. They got us it. And they kind of, it was one of the ones when we'd first asked for it, we're like, are we going to turn up the night and we're going to be on a third with no goal? Do you know that way? You're like, how are we going to? But then we managed to do a deal with Pollock and we train out in Ethercraigs and we managed to work really well with them. And then the Wednesday nights we train next to the juniors, which is quite good as well because you're getting to see two different teams with two different levels going at it. Do you know what I mean? And it's very decent just watching them side by side. But at the same time, we were genuinely like, no, this needs to change, this needs to change, this needs to change. You're telling us it's no good enough, so this is what you need to do to make it a wee bit better. And then we'll take the ball and run with it for there. And it's just every single couple of months we'll change something. As I said earlier, like, right, we were getting crates and crates of water. We were going to Costco and buying 20 crates of water. I'm like, why don't we just buy water bottles? It's going to be cheaper, more cost effective, save the planet, save the turtles, as my wee girl would tell me. Do you know what I mean? So they were things that we started looking at, and it's small changes, but it adds to the bigger picture. The players feel more valued, and it was things like that that we had to bring into the club. We had to make these girls feel valued. We had to make them feel valued so they could then perform and not worry about anything. So it wasn't a case of you need to turn up in your strip like you did when you were under 10. You know what I mean? The strips were there, they were hanging up. The only thing you need to bring is your boots, your shinnies, and anything else you think you need to bring. Like we've tried to make it as professional as we possibly can off the park for them. And I think that's contributed to their success as well. And I know other clubs are doing this in the background as well. And they fight for everything that they can get. And that's kind of been a trait of myself and Ian's and any other staff that's worked with us, that we will fight for everything that we can get. And we'll ask questions. And they'll be like, well, and if they don't give the answer we're looking for, we'll kind of look for a solution. So how do we get to it? How do we find it? And it's just about that forward thinking, but joined up thinking as well. And I think that's more and more what's coming for the club side, that the thinking's joined up, we're amalgamating. And you can see that, I think it was last month or the month before, they presented early with a trophy, like the plaque with the top and that in it as well for winning 4 in a row. The funny story behind it was they'd actually done it for 3. So she'd won 3 in a row and then she won the other one. So they're like, scrap it, we need to do it again. So they already made it up. and it got delayed because she'd won the fourth one, and they'd waited to see who won it the next month before presenting it, so she didn't win 5 and they had to go and do it again. So I think that's forward thinking, and the club have already said, like, take it away, enjoy it in the house kind of thing, but we want it back because we're going to put it up on the wall of the club, and it's going to be part of the history of the club. And I think that's a big thing that now they're starting to maybe acknowledge and appreciate what the girls are doing, but also at the same time they want it as part of their history. They're quite clear about it. We want this as part of our history. We want this on, and I'm glad they've done that for her, because I think trying to get one of the Player of the Month trophies off her would be a nightmare, man. You wouldn't
She's
get
got
that
enough of them.
off her.
She could have gained that one.
No, she's no for it, man. She's no for it. I think she was getting a wee bit embarrassed when she was picking them up, because she's a bit like, oh, I don't know if I deserve this, and I'm like, no, you do. You're flying, you deserve it. But she's been very level-headed. But I think that's the big part for the club is just the realisation that they're there. Let's value them, and let's kick on for it and see where we can go.
It's a great gesture for the club, and as you say, that'll be part of the history forever now, which is a massive thing. So we're coming into the run-in, 10 games to go. You've got a massive game coming up against Kelly. These are obviously, as we've discussed, these are 10 points clear at the top, but with that brings a different type of pressure. It's about holding your nerve, and it's maybe sometimes easier when you're chasing because you know what your objective is, but trying to hold those standards and not be nervous and go out and just perform the way that you have all season can be a little bit different. But I'm sure coming from yourself and filtering down to the girls that it's just a game at a time. It's just another game. It's nothing's won yet, and it's just about getting over the line.
Yeah, I think that's been the message for the first day. I think we got off to a flyer against Gartcairn, and straight away everybody was like, "Oh, didn't see that come." And then the next few games, it was like, "Oh," because I think we went 5-1, and then we won by 3 or 4 goals the next few, and a couple of fives, and I think there was a 6 in there. And it was like, "What's going on here?" And then we went to Kelly and get beat, and it was just an off day. And listen, they're allowed an off day. They work so hard. They're on a level they've set for themselves, and a standard that they've set for themselves. And we went to Kilmarnock that day. In the first half, we weren't good enough. The second half, we were miles better, and maybe could have nicked something for it. But you couldn't complain that Kelly beat you, because they were the better team on the day. Then I think the next week we get knocked out the cup. I think Boroughmuir knocked us out the League Cup.
Yeah.
4-3, and that's a game that could have finished 10 each, by the way. Like, that's one of them games where when you watch a Super Sunday in the telly and it's like a nothing each that happens, and then you see another game somewhere else and it finishes 4-3 or 5-4, and you're like, why was that on the telly? Like, genuinely, I was thinking that surely they've got to be able to do something to get these games televised in SWPL too, because there's some crackers in there. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's like a live link or something, they need to do something to try and do it. And knowing the guys in at the SWPL, they will be looking at that. But I think to us, when these 2 games happened, I think people started to think, oh, they've lost their nerve a wee bit. But we were clear with the group. You're 1 point behind Kilmarnock. You're out a cup. Big deal. Big deal. You gave everything with a lot of injuries, and you could have come away for the game winning it. But at the same time, you're a point behind Kilmarnock. You can make that up. Because I think everybody says this that's been on, and anybody who's been in SWPL 2 will say it's probably a tougher league than SWPL 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because anybody can beat anybody. And it just shows you, like, we get beat off Gartcairn as well, but I think everybody forgot who Gartcairn had brought in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we didn't start too well after Christmas. We didn't have a great start. We should have beat Boroughmuir. We conceded in the last minute. But I think when you look at the Gartcairn game again, and we were still clear at that point, and everybody was like, oh, that might be the bubble burst. Their nerve might have went. And the problem at the Gartcairn game was, we conceded 3 goals. But I think anybody who was at the game could have turned around and says, well, Queen's Park could have scored 9 or 10. And we challenged the girls. We said to them, you need to be more clinical. You need to be more ruthless in front of goal. I think we missed 6 1-on-1s that day. And I was like, we need to be more ruthless. And I think they took it personal, because if you look at the next 3 games, they went out and won 5, 12 and 5. And you're like, well, can't complain about being ruthless, can I? Like, I can't.
At least you know they're listening.
No, and I think that's the only time they did listen to me, because they just scratch on. But I think it's just one of them. We don't get too ahead of ourselves. You don't get too high in your own supplies. We keep saying in at the club, and you don't get too low when it's not working for you. There's always solutions. It's whether we want to carry out the solutions that we've put in place. And the girls have been fantastic at it all year. There was never going to be a year where you would go invincible either. Like, I think somebody mentioned that quite early on, then we did get beat at Kelly, and I think the girls thought, there's the pressure off. Do you know that way of, we don't need to worry about going the whole season undefeated. And then I think the game at Gartcairn was maybe a wee reset button for them again to go, oh yeah, bandit. And then they never turned up. Their attitude and applications all spot on when they go into games. It just never fell for us in the first half. We could have went in the first half 3 each, or 2 each, sorry, or 3-2 ahead, and whenever we were in 2-1 down. And then they came out, scored straight away, and then we scored straight after them. And I kid you not, I don't think anybody, well, 2 teams did look like scoring after that, but it was one of the games you're thinking, are we going to get another goal in this game? Like, especially up at MTC, it's the windiest place I think I've ever been in my life. It rivals Peters Hill for that, mate. So, but it is, the message every week is one game at a time. Don't look too far ahead. Don't get too high, don't look too far ahead. Just work in the present, work in the moment that we're going towards. And you get nice wee breaks through the season, like the cup games, like the game against Thistle. That was a nice wee break just to go, right, we get beat off Gartcairn, so what we're going to do this week? What we're going to do? And I think we beat Glasgow just before it, or we played Glasgow after it. And we knew it was a chance to test ourselves, prove ourselves against a right good side. This were a good team, man. Yeah. Really good team. I've got a lot of respect for them and a lot of respect for Brian. And we just looked at it and thought, right, let's go toe to toe with them. And I think a lot of people thought we'd have went there and just shut up shop, but we never. We went and tried to go toe to toe with them and conceded late on to kill the game off. And I think their goalies pulled off 2 absolute worldies. At live in the game, you watched it and you're like, they're unbelievable. Like, their saves you would see at the top level. And then I think when we watched the game back, we're thinking it was about 3 or 4 good saves she's pulled off to keep us out of it. And you're thinking if you could nick one and go to extra time, who knows what would have happened. But it was just a great game, great experience. And that was another game you're sitting thinking that could have been one for the telly there. He's would have got a right good game out of that. So I think for us, mate, is to keep banging on to everybody, one game at a time. And you said that yourself. And again, the pressure is like, I don't think the girls are feeling pressure at all, because it goes back to enjoyment. And we don't allow it to creep in. We've said to them, don't feel pressure, don't. And maybe after Christmas, people were talking too much about gaps. That's what I mean about external noise coming in. And we say to them, don't listen to it. Don't focus on it. It's what you do, what you perform in, what you believe in. So, and that's the message we're going with. So we'll keep banging on that message until the final day of the season. But it's going to be a great run-in. It's 10 games now, and it's going to be a top run-in. I think there'll be twists and turns all the way through. So I'm looking forward to it.
No, I think you're right. It's definitely not finished yet, and there's going to be some surprises coming up, no doubt. But I want to just wish you all the very best. I'll be watching intently in this run-in and seeing how the games are going each week. But thanks so much for joining us today, Craig.
No, Magic. Thanks for having me on, mate. Appreciate it.
And thanks everyone for joining us on SWPL My Story.